Okay. Good morning, everyone. Oh, wait a minute. Good evening, everyone. It's past morning. It's been a long day today. Getting a lot of work done on my other main channel where I teach database design, teach Microsoft Access in particular. And I've been working on a new game that my wife is embarrassed to tell anybody about. It's a little bit of gaming, playing the games that I like to play, and so working on that channel. It's just in its infancy. In fact, it hasn't even got over 1,000 views quite yet. So it's really small at this point, but having fun with it anyway. So enjoying that. I see people are joining the Kahoot. That's good. It's up on the screen. So go to kahoot.it, and the game pin is on the screen. And so far, as far as attendance goes, I've got Shane, Ariana, Chase, Ronan, Luke, Rochelle, Emily Oakes, Jackson, Peter, Zachary, and Jeffrey Seebeck. So we got good things going. 13 people online at this point, so that's good. So
I'm still hearing audio. Can you turn your speakers off? I think Kahoot's making noises.
Yeah. Is that turning it off, or is it?
That's it.
All right. So now the channel that you're looking at is the blockchain channel. So blockchain and Pharos Technology, and the new gaming channel, Gaming with Doc. I have Morgan coming in and Justin. That's good. Go ahead, guys, and go ahead and join the Kahoot. Looks like we got 10 people in the Kahoot and 12 people online, so 11 people in the Kahoot. That's good. Almost have everybody there. So that's good. That's good. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we've got everybody in the Kahoot. Well, do we have 13 people or do we have 10 people, Robert?
I see 13, but we can go ahead and get started. I'll put the pin up on the screen so they can join late.
Okay.
As they get here.
Alrighty. Very good. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. We'll hit the start button. A little bit of a review here. It says week 2, but I didn't do any Kahoots for the first couple weeks, so going back and retrieving a couple things. Which attribute is not a part of enterprise blockchains? Red being anonymous, blue it's scalable, and yellow accountable, and green secure. I'll get in the swing of things. About the second or third slide, I'll get to where I can actually say colors. So, which of those 4 is not a part of an enterprise blockchain? Anonymous, scalable, accountable, or secure? One of those 4 words is not part of an enterprise blockchain. And I got 9 people answered. 20 seconds left. 10 answers. And good. Fantastic. We're getting there. Good. Yes, an enterprise blockchain is not anonymous. Usually you log in with a login username and password in order to join the system. And normally you're paying for the service. At least each enterprise that's part of that blockchain consortium is logging in and paying for the service, and that's the way it goes forward. So let's move on to the next one. Good job, guys. And Robert was in there the quickest. Okay.
I'm failing to fail here. I'm trying to answer wrong just to make sure the test is running, and I failed.
And you didn't know the answer to that one? And you guessed wrong? Guessed right, I mean?
Double negatives, they're hard.
Double negatives are hard, yes. Alrighty, so... But Kellen, you're technically in first. Okay. What is a shadow ledger? What is a shadow ledger? Distributed ledger kept in parallel with existing systems. And blue is a secondary ledger used for backup and redundancy. Yellow, a type of ledger encryption technique to hide transaction details. Or green, a virtual ledger used for testing and development purposes. This one is gonna be tough. And we have a picture of a census record on the screen there. My wife looks at those all day long as she does genealogy and work on collecting names and getting their places correct in the families. Pretty cool stuff. She's really excited about that. Alrighty, Tyler joined us. That's good. Thanks, Tyler. And you can join in with the Kahoot. The numbers on the screen. I hope you can join us there. Okay, so the right answer is 2. Distributed ledger kept in parallel with the existing systems. Gotcha on the secondary ledger for backup and redundancy. There's never any backup ledgers for backup and redundancy in a blockchain system because the ledger is distributed. Every ledger is a backup. So with distributed ledgers, internet is down currently using the phone. Okay, Tyler, gotcha. So, good. Glad to see you joined. That means you probably won't be joining the Kahoot because you got to be on the YouTube. So I gotcha. Okay, so, and then the green one, virtual ledger used for testing and development. Then again, you don't need a shadow ledger in that case, okay? But a distributed ledger kept in parallel with existing systems during the development, a lot of times you'll run the two systems side by side. Like if you're replacing a supply chain system, you'll run the two systems side by side, and the one that is being implemented is usually called the shadow ledger and used just to compare the results coming from one versus the other until you actually implement the system, and then there's no shadow ledger at all. So, very good. That was a good question to get answered. Okay, let's go to the next one. And Robert, good. Robert got kicked out of first place, and Shane took over. That's a good thing. Shane and Ariana's in the top leaderboard. That's cool. Okay, next. Number 3, governance is required for a blockchain to function. True or false? Governance is required for a blockchain to function. True or false? Got 10 answers in. Chase, also unable to join the Kahoot, have to have my phone as I'm working late today. Well, Chase, thanks for joining us in spite of having to work. I appreciate that. Alrighty, so, tricked people up there. I don't know of any system in the world that is for an enterprise that doesn't have governance. So this is kind of a trick question in the respect that maybe somebody who answered false thought that governance is required in order to make it function, but really in order to continue its functions forward, you always have to have governance. So a little bit of a question there. When you get into the enterprise world, you're going to see a lot of governance. In fact, you're going to see too much governance from well-meaning managers who want to constantly know more than what you're able to give them as far as information. And what that does is it creates an onerous amount of oversight and governance because they're not comfortable because you can't give them enough information. Now, this happens especially if you're getting into a situation where you're developing software in an in-house IT system. Like, for example, I worked with Boeing for 25 years. and dealt with this overbearing governance the entire time. I believe in being agile. I'm an agilist from the very core. Don't do any more that's non-value added than you have to do. Well, the problem with that is that managers who don't understand programming want to know exactly what it's going to cost, why you're behind, when you're going to get caught up, and on and on and on. They don't understand that developing a software package isn't a linear process like building an airplane or building a spacecraft or building anything that is physical in nature. So software is just not the same thing. It's a creative endeavor that everybody is doing it for the first time. And frankly, if you're not doing it for the first time, that means that you're repairing or replacing a system that died and you're trying to redo it again. And a lot of times that never, well, a lot of times and never, that doesn't go together. That rarely happens, okay? You're always developing something new with new technology, new tools, new everything. So it's a wonderful, dynamic discipline to be a developer. And I love that aspect of it. What I did not like was the managers who wanted to look over my shoulder and have me explain everything I was doing while I was doing it and making me work half speed because they wouldn't get out of my way. So, okay, Alex. Alex, you're using your sister's account again. Okay, good, got it. Make sure you get Alex. Okay, very good. Let's go on to the next question then. I'll get off my soapbox for a second here. All right, so what do we got? Oh, a whole bunch of new leaders. Okay, Zach. Very good. Justin, Shane. Shane, you must have missed that question. Okay, got it. Got it.
Jeffrey with the
GCS the third, right? Okay, good. Okay. And next question. Okay, number 4. What social good has blockchain not provided? Okay, first, it traced foodborne illness to prevent spread. It cured cancer. That one's the blue answer. Yellow, secured data to prevent data breaches. And green, prevented counterfeit sales through provenance tracking. So, red one is traced foodborne illnesses. Blue one, it cured cancer. Yellow, we're looking for the one it did not do. Secured data to prevent data breaches and prevented counterfeit sales through provenance. Okay. Which one has it not done yet? Oh, I say yet. Maybe?
Yet. And here's your quiz for the week.
The quiz for the week?
Yes, for the instructor.
Oh, for the instructor?
Yes, read chat.
The chat. Where Joe? Where's Joe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Where's Joe?
Good. You didn't respond with, who's Joe? So, yeah, good job.
All right. It has not cured cancer yet. And Robert, are you one of the green or yellow answers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, it hasn't cured cancer yet. That's good. Okay. Very good. And let's go to the next one. 5 out of 8. It's a multi-select, meaning in this question, which of the following are disruptive elements of blockchain? You're going to choose one or more answers. Red, transparency. 2, blue, smart contracts. Yellow, immutability. 3, tokenization. 4, security. 5, security. And 6, census. Okay, green. Oh, I lost count, didn't I?
We don't need counts. We need colors here.
We need colors here. Red, transparency. Blue, contracts. Yellow, immutability. Green, tokenization. Teal, security. And purple, census. Or lavender, or whatever the kids are calling that color today. It was just purple when I was growing up. Just purple. You know, that's simple. But today it's all kinds of different names. That's crazy. That happens, I guess, when the color is loved as much as that color is today. So, sorry, everybody's young that's under 50. Wow. Okay. Okay, interesting.
That is an even spread.
Yeah. Okay. So the only one that's not a disruptive element is tokenization. I mean, tokenization's been around forever. It's not disruptive of anything. But all of the other 5 definitely are elements that that are disruptive. So we had 7 people that check marked tokenization, while a lot of other people were able to get the other 5. So let's see how they scored that one. Okay. And, we have a new leader from it. Okay. We have a new leader. And who is G again? Gavin?
Jeffrey.
What?
Jeffrey, I believe.
Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeffrey is hanging right in there at second. Everybody's kind of flipping around him. It seems. Okay, very good. Or flipping around you, Jeffrey. Don't mean to talk as though you're not there. Okay, what are the 3 challenges to application of enterprise blockchain? What are the 3 challenges enterprise blockchains have to the application? Red, scope, governance, and motivation. That's red. Blue is scalability, interoperability, and scope. Yellow is compliance, scalability, and motivation. Or green is governance, encryption, and interoperability. What one of those is the 3 challenges to the application of an enterprise blockchain? Yeah, this one you put on your thinking caps a little bit, and if you think it through, the things that we've learned over the prior 4 weeks, I think you'd get it, but only one person did. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. So, scope is always a problem because you want to be able to have it limit the scope. I have not ever been in any project that didn't have what the management called scope creep. Okay? Scope is always going to be in any situation of a deployment of any software. Okay, governance. It's you've got to keep the governance, but governance is a challenge because governance is now among several different companies that are all trying to have this blockchain developed all at once. And then motivation. How do you motivate people to contribute, to program, to share the responsibilities, to develop the blockchain along the way? So tokenization is a big motivation. Tokenization allows you to benefit those that are putting the work in and not benefit those that are just kind of sloughing. And you can actually see who's putting in the time, who has the IT staff working, and so forth and so forth. Is scope in scope or out of scope? You turkey. What a question is that? Now that's something my finance manager might ask. That's cool. Who is Deadstock?
That's
a quotable quote.
That's
Robert.
Shane.
That's Shane. That is a quotable quote.
Oh, okay.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. You livened the audience up today. That's good. All right, where are we at? Okay. We had an unchanged reader.
Only one person got it right.
That's right. Only one person got it right, and it must have been Gavin because he stayed right at top.
No, his score didn't change.
Oh,
It was
so
somebody
somebody
at the bottom.
Interesting. Okay. Wow, I've never seen that before. I've never seen it not change. 7 of 8. Let's go. What industries can benefit from blockchain? Red, supply chain management. Blue, all industries. Yellow, banking and financial. And green, healthcare. So what industries are benefited by blockchain? What of them can benefit? Now, think this thoroughly. If you answer green healthcare, for example, you mean only the healthcare industry benefits from it. So green is not the right answer for anybody who's already answered green.
Oh.
100% almost. Okay. Robert, did you answer green?
Yes.
Of course. Of course. All industries. See, that was almost a gimme, huh? All right. Let's see who answered quickly. And we had no change in the order. None whatsoever. Everybody just got points. Okay, let's look at our last question, 8 of 8. What part does motivation play in the implementation of a blockchain? Red keeps development moving forward. Blue creates tech evangelists. Don't you love the evangelists out there? Yellow establishes correct behavior. And green helps everyone get rich. What part does motivation play in the implementation of a blockchain? Now we're thinking of development. We're not thinking of...
We're thinking of what?
We're thinking of...
Don't give it away.
We're thinking of creating tech evangelists,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
establishing correct behavior here, and getting rich. Okay.
Yeah. This is another one of those answers that's half answered because they got out of order.
And it's half answered because this instructor won't keep from babbling.
Yep.
Very good. Everybody got it. It keeps the development moving forward, the tokenization and the motivation.
Look at it again.
The correct answer is establishes correct behavior. Well, open mouth, stick in foot. Okay. It does establish correct behavior, yes. It also keeps the development moving forward. I wonder why I answered that way on this one.
Well, oops.
Oops. Did you answer green again, Robert?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so everybody...
Pretend
okay.
your score is 1,000 points higher.
Okay, so number 3 is Zach. Okay, Mr. Tigger. Number 2 stayed right there, and number 1 is... Okay, Gavin. Was Gavin on top before?
Yes.
Runners up, Shane and Justin. Okay. For some reason, Gavin appearing that way doesn't look the same as Gavin when he's on the line. Okay, very good. Very good. Gavin, Zach, and Jeffrey. That's cool. All right. Thank you for playing. That was fun. That was fun. All righty. So, this article caught my eye this week. One of you posted this article about many blockchains are unnecessary. Now, the article isn't all that great, but it does point out a good issue that I want to highlight, and that decisions to use blockchain sometimes are not necessary. There's this thing called FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Many times, companies will simply deploy a technology because they can say they deployed a technology. And sometimes that has some benefit, at least in the marketplace, in the stock market, in areas where people want to invest and look positively at your company. It's just not a good reason to implement anything. Companies implemented data warehouses when they didn't need them. Companies implemented enterprise resource planning software before it was the thing, and they really didn't need to spend the money that direction. It gave them the benefit of being able to say they are high-tech or on the leading edge. And that is definitely not the reason to do that. Now, the reason why I say this article is not all that great is simply because Duncan, the author, while the article came from University of Birmingham, which I assume this University of Birmingham is in the UK, he writes for Computer News in Dubai. Now, nothing against the Middle East or the Arabs or anybody that lives over there. It's just that they look at the IT world very differently than we do. And so what he talks about is these 3 items here. Artificial intelligence blockchain decision schemes and flowchart blockchain decision schemes and scored blockchain decision schemes. So those 3 items are foreign to me. I don't know that anybody here on the line that's in the live stream has ever heard of those either. So the whole rest of this article is based on you knowing one of these three, and I have no idea what a flowchart decision scheme is, and that's what he really highlights, because he says 77.5% of all BDSs, which he terms blockchain decision schemes, 77.5% of those are flowchart blockchain decision schemes. Okay, so in that way, the article was a little bit difficult for me to read and me to grasp what he really was intending. Although he did point out the fact that many times companies will implement a blockchain when it's really not applicable to the task that they're wanting to do out of it. So what blockchain is a data structure. Data can be put in a relational database, it can be put in a data warehouse, it can be put in a data lake. Those are your three main choices for today's world out there. A relational database is a lot like your accounting databases, where you're doing constant input and output, where you've got accountants every day inputting transactions, or you've got an automated system that's constantly putting in transactions, like most of the ERP systems do, because accounting is at the core of an ERP system. So you've either got a constant flow of data going into the core accounting part of an ERP system, and that by its nature then needs to be a relational database that is, up to the third normal form. It goes through first normal, second normal, and third normal form for normalization. Those are your input-output systems generally. Your data warehouses then become your reporting systems. Data lakes is usually for big data, when you just dump a ton of data and use NoSQL to attack that data and call out what you need out of that data. So blockchain is just a different type of data structure. Blockchain is specifically meant for when you have a situation where you need the data to be immutable and you need it to be available at the time that an auditor wants to see it, okay? Or at a time when a customer needs to see the provenance of food or the wine or the diamonds or whatever you're tracking with your database, with your data, okay? So blockchains perform a unique function in the world. They provide the ability to see what couldn't be seen before in a way that allows many network participants to put in their small part of the data along the path of, a supply chain, or of the provenance of medicines, where the medicine is started, where it's manufactured, where the raw ingredients come from, so forth and so on. All of those things, when you really, really need to track that stuff and keep a record of the tracking data, blockchain's your guy. The challenge with a database is that a database can be modified afterwards. So, frankly, when you've got a database, your source isn't immutable. Your source is, you can tinker with it. And companies can very easily just decide not to put tracking in the database to find out who made what change when and how. And if they don't have that in the database, you just have raw data there. And you have to hope that it's not been tinkered with or played with. So that is really, really important. Now, there's a lot of situations where companies are using it as a regular database. And frankly, your IT department or your IT people you hire will know how to program a relational database a lot faster, quicker, and with better support tools at this point than if you try to implement a blockchain to do that same task. So if you're not going to have a distributed ledger, if you're not going to have multiple participants, if you really don't care that the data be immutable and show a pathway among several participants, blockchain is not the tool to use. Don't just jump on board because it's the latest, greatest tool to use, and I can brag to all of my stockholders that we're using the latest and greatest called blockchain in your, quarterly report or whatever. So this is really what this guy is getting at, is a lot of times the wrong tool is being used for the task at hand. It's like when one of my kids will try to use the back of a screwdriver to pound in a nail when they should have grabbed a hammer. It's that kind of thing. So, Rochelle, answering as a PM, project manager, I assume, something is either in scope or out of scope. And Deadstock is Jeffrey, right?
No, that's Shane.
Deadstock is Shane. Okay.
Yep.
I was asking if those were two examples of scope.
Being either in scope or out of scope, which is what Rochelle answered.
Yeah, it's either in scope or out of scope.
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't joking. Shane, you weren't joking, and I took it as a joke. I'm sorry. But, honestly, I've had managers, well-intentioned, ask what the term scope meant. Is scope in scope, out of scope? Yes, scope is in scope, but some scope is out of scope. And, you can get all tangled up in that phrase right there, too. So.
It's like that old comic. Remember the old comic of how everybody views hanging the tree swing? And every person sees the scope differently. And so sometimes the project manager thinks it's out of scope. It's like, no, tying it to the tree is not out of scope. It has to be tied to the tree. If it's not tied to the tree, it's not a swing.
It's not a tree swing.
It's not a tree swing unless, and so you get those arguments being in scope versus out of scope versus just...
Yeah, exactly. So, I love the tree swing analogy. Engineering a tree swing from the requirements given to them by the customer. Okay. Now, customer requirements are always up to interpretation. I had a situation where, got me into a story. I've got plenty of time. I've got one more article left. But we were working on a project, and the project was a finance project for budgeting. Okay, it was to help with the annual budgeting and how much we were going to spend next year project. Okay, and we worked on that thing, and we were 2.5 years into working on it, and it really wasn't going well. The company that we had that recommended the software came in and said, here's the software you need. And then when they really got an idea of what the requirements were, they said, well, unfortunately, you're going to need this other piece of software in order to do what you said you wanted to do, but it'll only do half of what you really wanted to do. When he sold us the initial package of software with the idea that it would do everything that we asked the consultant to do. So at that point, we were at least double our initial budget because we were talking about an Oracle package of software. And Oracle is not cheap when you're buying enterprise-wide software. It just isn't. So we were getting down to the wire, and managers were breathing down our backs and wanting reports twice a day, Forget the fact that if we're in a meeting with you, giving you a report twice a day, we're not out programming. They don't ever seem to connect the fact that they are slowing the project down, but that's what managers are all about. They manage things. Leaders lead people, and managers manage things. And when you devolve down to me calling you a manager, that's not a flattering statement. Okay, I get to show that. Okay. So it came down to one day we were looking at the data, and we found a $3 million error. Now we're talking Boeing, so $3 million is, not small, but not big. but we found a $3 million error. And the finance guy, who I respect really well, I wish I had a chance to talk to him more often since I've retired, but I don't, found 3 transactions that didn't go the right direction, didn't go the way we had written the requirements for them to be handled. These 3 transactions had an indicator code that was blank. And that indicator code, we said that if it's blank, do this. Well, these were blank but didn't do that. Well, the person collecting the requirements for IT, because we don't ever get to talk to the programmers directly, it's a functional analyst collects all the requirements. Well, the functional analyst collected the requirements and said, well, blank means null. And so if you understand the difference between a null and a blank, he coded it as if it is null, then do that. Well, both of these had a value in it, and somebody had deleted that value, so the value is no longer null. It truly was blank, which means it had a value before and was no longer null. Although you couldn't see any value in it, to us, to the finance person who expressed it, it was blank. There was no value there. And no value there means you do a certain thing. The IT person stood up and said, no, that's a change request. You put it down that it's supposed to be null, and I coded it as null, therefore I did it per the requirements. That means you will put a change request in. Well, at this point in the project, change requests took 3 months. So all he had to do is change a single line of code to catch the alternate of is null or blank. That's all he had to change. Yet he was standing up and saying, no, this had to be a change request. The finance people won the battle there, but it still had to be a battle, and that's not the way things should go. So Robert has been so kind as to find the drawing that that we were referring to, the engineering drawing.
They've added a few lines since the last time I saw it.
Yeah, they have. Okay, so why don't you explain each of the cells?
The idea is just to illustrate how communication breaks down between different parties, and different parties express it differently. But it's also a good way to explain the concept of scope. So the idea is that this person wants a tire swing. The 12th one, what the customer really needed is a tire swing. But all along the way, this tire swing is described as anything from a swing to a roller coaster. And the biggest thing comes down to then, well, what is scope? If the programmer wrote it one way, but the project manager understood it to be a different way, then there becomes issues of, well, is it really something in scope or out of scope? Which is the same thing as what your explanation just gave. Mm-hmm. You know, is something in scope or out of scope, and we need to make a change. You know, and it's just, it gets to be silly. This is the reason why governance exists. You know, going back to blockchain, this is the reason why governance exists. So you can make these kinds of changes and updates to the code as necessary, so we can all get more on the same page over time.
Yeah, exactly. And an agile project always allows you to catch those disagreements or misunderstandings along the way, correct them where they're most important or easiest to correct, and move on. It really is challenging to me when you find out the software doesn't have the ability to do what you thought it did. Therefore, it's going to take more hours than you thought it was going to take. Is that scope creep? Well, in my terminology and as an IT person, no, it's not scope creep. It's just we didn't understand the true abilities of the software, and it's just going to take us longer to code around it. So, you know, the definition of scope creep on both sides of the fence are always different. The project manager will have to be that go-between. That's why I never liked being a project manager. Have to be a go-between between two feuding parties. You know, the finance people who wanted it yesterday wanted it on schedule, on time, on budget, and the IT people saying, but we can't. You know, we didn't have all the information we needed at the beginning to know exactly how much it was going to cost, exactly how long it would take, and exactly the scope of each of these items. We did our best, but we're wrong. It's not scope creep. It is just, human nature. Human nature. All right. By the way, Samuel Massey joined, if you didn't catch that. Okay. Very good. So get that off the screen. And I will go on to the next article. Okay, so the next article here really is driving to the fact that this might be a little bit of FOMO. It reads like FOMO. It is a long, monstrous article, so I'm not even going to begin to do it justice today. It was a great article, and the summary was great for the person who posted it. But Visa and MasterCard are embracing the elements of blockchain that help them to transmit data from one point to the other. And understand, Visa handles all currencies all around the world. Now, I don't know if they handle every single currency, but I mean, if you travel to France, you can use your Visa card. If you travel to Germany, you can use your Visa card. Both of those are in the euro, of course. But if you go to London and they need to use the British pound, you can do that easily. Or you can go down to Argentina and use their currency now. So on and on and on it goes, where Visa has already adapted to all of the different currencies. They've adapted to the SWIFT data transfer or money transfer system that allows them to get money from one place to another, because they've got a banking system that they need to pay bills and put it on a credit ledger for the customer who charged it, but they've got to pay that bill in whatever currency was laid out. Whatever currency the cardholder was partaking in at the time they used the charge. Now, the challenge that Visa then faces is if they continue to rely on the old banking system, they will continue to fall farther and farther behind in being able to process these transactions quickly and easily. Now, Visa and MasterCard have an amazing system for handling transactions quickly and easily. I mean, you've got to be amazed when you tap your debit card. Excuse me. Got to be a little bit amazed when you tap your credit card, for example. And I've got a Visa card that actually is a credit card. I put everything on it because it pays me from 1% to 5% back, and I pay it off every single month. And I figure I just bank that 1% to 5%. That's great. But the whole point is that you've got to be amazed when you tap the reader and it reads your chip, and 2 to 3 seconds later it's saying approved, and away you go with your merchandise. That's one of billions of transactions that are going through in a given day, and so they do an amazingly good job. Well, they've got to do an amazingly better job in order to keep up, because as the world continues to grow and as people now implement CBDCs, for example, or they start implementing cryptocurrencies, Visa and MasterCard have to adjust. Visa and MasterCard are not governmental agencies, so therefore they're not beholden to thou shalt not support cryptocurrencies or thou shalt support cryptocurrencies. I mean, they can make their own business decisions themselves. And their decision, of course, is to support the customer. The customer is the one that pays their bills. Every time you swipe your card, they get a little piece of it every single time, and it goes through. And billions of times a day, they're getting paid a little piece of every transaction. So it's important that they keep up with the current trends of money. So they support a lot of different CBDCs. In the article detailed several CBDCs that they were working with, some that I had not heard of yet, which that part was very interesting to me, and I'll go research those CBDCs and see how they're doing too. They're willing to support a lot of different currencies like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana are three that I believe I saw mentioned there. They are creating debit cards that debit straight out of crypto accounts. So a lot of adaptation is going on. So they're not just supporting cryptos, but they're actually using cryptos behind the scene when they need to move money across borders. And that's the big thing, is they're moving lots of money across borders so they can keep their system balanced for where people are using and needing to pay bills and collect the money then from the cardholders. So they're embracing the future in that direction. They said they used, off of the Ethereum blockchain, they used USDC, which is the U.S. digital U.S. dollar currency, and it's just a cryptocurrency pegged to the dollar. It's one of the several that are pegged to the dollar, and there's ones that are pegged to the yen. There's ones that are pegged to the yuan in China. So there's a lot of different dollar coins out there, or yuan coins, or yen coins, that are cryptos that are tied to those different currencies. And Visa and MasterCard are now using those to do cross-border transfers. Now, the main part of the article was the focus on using the USDC to transfer money cross borders. It'll be interesting to see if they connect with the new BRICS block. SWIFT is the money transfer, cross-border money transfer system that has been in place since World War II. BRICS is being implemented in order to get around the sanctions against Russia. So Russia is kind of leading that one, along with China. So there's a lot of dynamic change going on in finance and the way money is moving around the world. And of course, the elites don't like to see the diversity. They definitely want to get ahead of this idea of cryptocurrencies. They just, they believe those cryptocurrencies are a threat to the current financial system, simply because you can't catch the bad guys. Well, there's a lot of us, other people, who want privacy, despite that want privacy in addition to all those bad guys out there. So, great article. I really enjoyed it. This was a very substantive and very well thought article with a lot of good information in it. So whoever posted that one, thank you for that gem of a find. So, I am done with what I had prepared to present today. I hope you guys have a great week. I noticed there are some people that are still working on their midterm essay. Please get that handed in as quickly as you can, so that we can get the grades in the grade book and move forward and do other things. What else? I think that really wraps it up for me. Robert just posted there to call for the attendance. So if you just let me know you're still on board and not falling asleep by now, I'd appreciate that. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay. I'll also watch the chat windows to see any questions that might pop up too, and I'll stay online to at least answer those in the chat window if we shut off the live stream. Okay. Alrighty. I'm not seeing any questions come up right now, so we'll see you again next week. Thanks for coming.